Welcome to the SwimSwam podcast. I'm your host, Coleman Hodges. Joining me today, we've got a very special guest. He's got quite a few accolades: NCAA champion, SEC champion, World University Games champion. He's an NCAA All-American. Obviously, he swam for the University of Alabama. Fastest man in Alabama history, I'm pretty sure. Robert Howard. Bobby Howard. Bobby, what's up, man?
Nothing much. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm happy to. You're always a friendly face. It's always good seeing you on deck. I'm happy we get to sit down and chit chat for a little bit. If I'm going to give our audience a little background on you. You're from Alabama. You stuck with your home state, swam for the University of Alabama, and just got faster every single year. You rose through the ranks, eventually to become a multiple-time SEC champion, an NCAA champion in the 200 medley relay your senior year. And now you've gone on to become a professional swimmer. You're representing the DC Trident this year in ISL, second year in ISL. You're continuing to grow as a swimmer, as an athlete, and improve those times, which, just a cool journey to have watched from afar and gotten to know you personally also. So let's start with where you're at right now in your current situation. How have you navigated through this pandemic? I know when we started, you were training with the pro group in Bloomington, Indiana, at the University of Indiana. Take us through your journey from there.
Okay, so yeah, that week after the Des Moines Pro Swim, that was like the craziest week ever. We were all like, one day after another, just like one thing was going to happen. I remember going to the pool in Bloomington that week. I stayed through that week, and then finally, like the end of that week, the pool closed, and I was like, all right, like I'm from Alabama. I'm not used to like it being cold in March, and just like. So I was antsy to get out anyway, just because the weather and everything, and I wanted to get back home and everything. So I went on like that Friday, that whole week of everything crazy. I left that Saturday, and I went to stay with my girlfriend, and I was there she lives in Baton Rouge, and so I was there for like a month and a half, and I kind of went home, went to see my parents, stayed at the lake, and just kind of did what everybody else did, just hung out and worked out where I could, and did some fun things. So it was a pretty positive experience, considering.
Yeah. So you said worked out. What were you doing to stay active? Where did you have access to? I know everyone's situation was totally different, but what was your situation like during that month and a half?
So for the first month and a half down there in Baton Rouge, I didn't no weight room, nothing. So we would run every other day around like this just like outdoor lake place. And so we ran, 5-6 miles, just pretty long, just like aerobic stuff. And I was getting into it. Definitely like running compared to swimming. I mean, swimming just makes you exhausted, but I've never had my knees, legs, ankles just like sore from just running. I don't know how people do it. Like it's like every day was another thing. My hips, my back, like something. And then we were doing like Nike Training Club workouts. I found that app, and those were some pretty intense workouts. And like we were doing them in like the 85-degree heat and like humidity and like awful. So it was pretty intense training I was doing. No swimming. She has a pool in her backyard, but I mean, I could do like 2 strokes a lap, and then I'd like, but then I went back home to Alex City, and there's a guy there and none of the pools. I mean, there's no pool in Alex City anyway, not really. And there was a guy that I knew that he had an endless pool, and so I swam in that. His wasn't like the souped up one that Cody has, like that can go probably really fast. His was like think it was like 1 minute and 8 seconds per 100 yards. So
Okay.
I just like strapped up, and I like, it's hard because you're like, you're swimming by yourself, one, and then you don't know, like, it's based off time, and there's no clock down there. So I figured it out. Like 50 strokes was 100. So I was doing like just like 500s repeatedly, just something to just get a feel for the water.
Yeah.
And then I went back to Tuscaloosa in like June, and we swam at like a country club pool. No lane lines,
Okay.
no tees at the bottom of the pool, but it was 25 yards, about 50 meters, and we were doing that pretty good. Then like the Alabama heat, like that pool was 85, maybe 80, like 85 to 90 degrees, and like we just couldn't do that anymore. So
Yeah.
then we started going to like Parks and Rec pools, and that's when kind of like the momentum kind of stopped. We were like, because Coley couldn't come with us, and it was just a whole thing. And then finally, like when school started again, they opened up the university pool, and we've been doing lap swim.
Okay. Nice. Tell me, so you were at Indiana, which has a massive pro group, Cody Miller, Olympic gold medalist, very famous vlogger, they've got Lily King, also Olympic champion, Zane Grothy, great distance swimmer, Blake Peroni, Zach Apple, the list goes on. So you were with a very big pro group there. Now you're back in Tuscaloosa. I know Ryan Held is there. I know Margot Gear is there, who was also at Indiana formerly. Tell me about training with the pro group there.
It's good. I mean, we haven't, we did at that country club, and it was, when we were training there, it was great. And last summer, before I went to Indiana, I stayed in Tuscaloosa. So I trained a few days a week with them anyway. And I really enjoy it. They're like, Ryan and Margot, they're real laid back, real fun to train with. I mean, so are the people in Indiana too. I mean, it's pretty great training groups the past two places I've been. But and then I also, Zane Waddle, he's a pro now, and I undergrad with him, so we're good friends. So that's been fun.
Yeah, nice. I know Jonty was at Indiana when you were there, and so now you're training. You're back in Alabama, but training with Coley. Have you noticed differences there between Jonty and Coley?
Yeah, definitely different. But that's kind of what I needed. At Indiana, like I went there with Jonty, and then we were kind of doing a mix of stuff, and like, if anything, I was just kind of like, like you said, I got better and better every year at Alabama, and I was just like, it culminated. It was a great season, like the last season, and kind of everything changed, and I had to move to a different place, and didn't know as many people, and so it was kind of a hard time for me. Nothing bad about Indiana at all. It's just closer to home. Alabama, just different things. Miss football season, all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And so I was a little burnt out with the same type of training. I felt like I worked, like my senior year, we worked so hard, and I was just pretty burnt out from that. Especially after World University Games, I came back and I was just like, and that summer was weird anyway. I was going like half with Coley, half with Jonty. So it was strange, but I think when all this hit, I was like, okay, I need to go back to Alabama, do something different, change it up. Like, I got nothing to lose.
Yeah. And so how is Coley different than Jonty? I know each one is very stylized. Jonty was at Alabama for so long, and Coley has kind of just gotten up to the ranks, certainly of college coaching. But he's got, like we said, a sizable pro group. What makes Coley's training distinct for you?
It's just different. It's not traditional. So I guess for me, it's I can't compare that training to like training I did at Alabama with Jonty. So like last year at Indiana, I was just, like I said, I was kind of burnt out. So I would compare things to what I did in the past, and I was like, I'm just perfectionist. Like didn't see it the way I saw it then, and if I wasn't swimming as fast, I'd kind of get down on myself. So Coley's is just so different. There's no like like a threshold practice isn't like 10 100s or something, where it's just like it's very like you swim the times, the times you went, and then on 230, his is a lot of just like, you have to do this, you have to do that, you have to do this, you have to do that, and it's like you're not really thinking about, like, you're thinking about execution more than you are about times. And not that I thought about times with John T. It's just I don't find myself like comparing and looking like, oh well. It's more just like I'm in the moment. I'm racing Ryan and Zane, and like it's instant feedback of like, okay, well, like we're together. I beat him on this one, he beat me on that one. So it's just different, and I feel like I needed that.
Yeah, definitely. And I also talked to Ian Finnerty just a couple days ago,
yeah.
And he's now training with Energy Standard, and I think you see this a lot, especially when people make the transition from college to pro. It's like you just need something different.
Yeah.
And I think it makes a lot of sense. And that's I've seen Coley's workouts, I've heard about him, and it sounds like no two practices are the same, and he just kind of does his thing.
Well, it's all got the same like framework. The bones are the same. Like it's a like a little like a swim out, then a drill set, and then maybe a drill set with some spliced in some fast stuff or whatever we're doing that day, and then maybe a set, and then at the end it's like then he just starts throwing stuff at you like, all right, 100 or 50 back in, 100 threshold, just like, and you're just like, you really have to, like, what I like about it is you have to be very present and like very focused on what you're doing at the time. You're not like, it's I don't know. It's cool training. I like it.
And that, I mean, just from listening to you hear about it, it makes sense, because especially for someone who's trying to develop, top speed, you have to be engaged. You have to think about what you're doing, and you kind of have to feel it out, and you can't be distracted. And, if you're engaged with whatever you're doing, I think it's going to help.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, we talked about your pro training now, your college training. Like we said, you grew up in Alabama. You came into college as a state champion in the 50 and the 100 free. You were two-time USA Scholastic All-American. You had an Olympic trials in the 50 free. So you're a sprinter for a while. What was swimming for you like in high school? I mean, I don't think Alabama as a state is known for swimming, but you came out of there pretty good. What was high school swimming like for you?
Yeah. So I swam for a while, just summer league in Alex City, and then I swam there was a town just 20 minutes down the road that had a bubble. So I swam there until I swam through that in 2008. And then I was like, okay, that was like Michael Phelps's year, and I was like, all right, like I'm swimming the 200 fly, like I'm doing the 4 IM. I have to go to a different place.
All right.
And then so I was like, I got to go to Auburn. And so there were some people that were going to Auburn from my town, so we kind of carpooled. But yeah, that was hard. That was hard because it was like a 45-minute drive. Like I'd come back from school, go straight to practice. I know a lot of people had commutes and everything, but it was tough, but it was fun. I enjoyed it. I didn't get to do doubles as much in high school just because I had school and I couldn't, drive all the way back. But I made it work sometimes. But I think the coolest thing about training at Auburn was like, I was there, started in 2008. That was kind of the end of their run, but there was like, I was still on, like Fred Biscay was still on deck. Like Cesar Cielo was still on deck. Like, all these guys, and I'm like looking up these guys, and that's definitely motivated me to be like, oh, these guys are right here. Like, like I didn't even, I didn't even think about like, oh, my circumstances of like, I'm from Alex City, like there's no swim team there, like all that. I just saw those guys, and I was like, well, this is the path. Like this is where I can do this.
Yeah. And I mean, one thing you have to mention is you just walk into my first time in Auburn was the time when I was there right before I filmed you guys in Tuscaloosa 2.5 years ago, I think. And I walked into you walk into the Auburn pool and and everything is just right there. You see all of their Olympians, all their NCAA championships. You see all of their accolades. They're just posted on the walls everywhere. And there's a lot of them, right? Because like you said, you had Cesar, you had Fred, you had all these people who were training there for so long. Kirsty Coventry. I mean, the list goes on. But so you start training at Auburn. So when did the transition from I want to do 2 fly 4 IM to 50 free happen?
Like very, very quickly. I like, well, I mean, you see Phelps and he's like doing it so easily, and I've never even like done it. I like summer league. It's like I don't even think there's maybe there's hundreds of strokes. I don't know. Mm-hmm. Like I was like, oh, this is so easy. I fly. I can't get the rhythm. Whatever. I do it in practice just for some strength and just work on the catch. But yeah, fly is not my thing.
Yeah. And so you start training at Auburn, and when, like you said, you see these Olympians and you're like, all right, well, this is the path. This is what I got to do. I mean, tell me about that path for you. What were some ups and downs you went through in high school, and how did you finally get to the point of, also you're training in Auburn. How'd you end up in Tuscaloosa?
Well, I mean, I've been an Alabama fan, and I say this a lot, kind of. So I started, like, my dad and I got season tickets at Alabama in 2005, and we started going that year to games. That's when I really started watching and paying attention. But I don't know when it started, but Alabama lost to Auburn in football six straight years, and like going back, and that's like 2000s. We were really bad, and just like going through that every, like, at those Mondays after those games, and just like I'm a kid, and like I didn't even think Alabama could beat Auburn. Like, it was such a mindset of like that's not a thing. So 2008, that season, we were, it's Coach Saban's second season, and we were like. We went undefeated, and then we beat Auburn really bad. That was just like just a super like motivating season. And I lived through the motivations and like what was going on with the football team. And so like 2009, we won the national championship. The next year, Auburn wins the national championship. And that was an awful, awful year to be down there, because it was just like, I was like, we just won. And then we can't even celebrate for, but then we won it again the next year, and then the next year. So it was, I would come in those early years with like all my Alabama stuff on. I would just like I was such a little jerk with it, but it was fun. What was the question?
That's awesome, especially just going into Auburn with all your roles.
I was ready to die. I was going in there. Yeah.
That is the hill that you were dying on.
Yep.
So you go to this Auburn club team, and what is the contrast? What was training there like versus, you would come from this smaller summer league in Alex City, like you said?
Yeah. Well, I mean, at the time, at the beginning of it, the first 4 years, we had the coach, Jeff Dillinger. He was there, the head coach of the senior group. And then Lionel Moreau, he swam at Auburn. He was a good IMer, but he was coach, and it was very like technique oriented. We focused on technique a lot. And so I think that, and then I was going to like Alabama swim camps as well. And that was very good for me, even though the coaches at the time weren't like, the program wasn't great. I feel like I gained a lot of just technical insight from that. So that definitely has been kind of something that I've always focused on, is technique and, doing things, practicing the right way. But yeah, he was there until like 2012, and then he went back to France. And the last few years, it was just with Jeff, and I definitely, the last couple of years, we never did any weights, all that. So I definitely felt like I was really just waiting to get into a weight program, and it's in a different environment, and just I didn't know where I was going to go, like in turn, like the sky was the limit, I guess, once I started getting some weights and putting some weight on, getting some strength. But it was a good program. I definitely better than the best thing I could have done in Alabama, I think.
Sure. Okay. So how tall are you?
I'm like 6'3", maybe.
You're pretty. To me, that's
Yeah, yeah,
you're pretty tall. You're 6'3", but I mean, you're fairly skinny. I think
oh yeah,
that's fair to say.
oh yeah,
I can't imagine like in
yeah.
high school. I mean, at the state meet, let's say, were you the tallest kid, but also the skinniest kid there?
I don't know. I mean, the state meet wasn't like super, super like talented. There were some years before, like with Will Glass and those like that ahead of me was pretty like a pretty solid. And then like my year, I think yeah, Zach Harding's my year, so it was good, but we didn't some of the same things. There were some other good guys, but I don't know. Maybe I felt like I was pretty tall for them, but definitely when I got to Alabama, I'm short compared to these guys.
Yeah. So you had always, what was the moment like when you received the okay that you were going to swim for the University of Alabama? I mean, I'm guessing that was some pretty good news for you.
Yeah, no, it was great. I mean, it's a childhood dream. I mean, but I was just, I didn't even think about it at the time. It was just like, what's the next step? Like, and I just was, all right, let's go. Like, I'm ready to work.
Yeah. So again, you mentioned you get there, you're not the tallest guy. What was that freshman season like for you?
Um,
Just coming in. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I came in and I had always been like, sometimes like Marcelo would practice with us at Auburn, or we'd race with the pros at just the meets. And so I was always just really just like, I'd get in there, I'd get in there and race no matter what. I didn't care if I lost or whatever. Cause I mean, I'm swimming Marcelo. I'm like, of course I'm going to lose, but like, I'm going to go for it.
Yeah.
So I had nothing to lose. And that's kind of how I approached my freshman year. I was like, I was racing everybody. I was like racing all the guys that were established there, and like Christian and BJ Hornicle was there, and a lot of the upperclassmen. But I was just getting in there just like a sponge. I just wanted to absorb as much as I could and get better.
What was one pivotal moment for you that freshman season that you could tell things really kind of started to clicking, or
Yeah.
You said you were like a sponge. What was one lesson that really stuck with you through that?
Huh. I don't know. I mean, John T really got in with my stroke, and I thought I had a good stroke, but he really just like he worked on it a lot, and he made it. Helped me, gave me tips, and I mean, every like Monday morning he'd just be like walking up and down the deck, and like I'd stop every 50, and he'd tell me like to do this thing, do that thing. Um, I guess the pivotal moment was I'd like swam sophomore year. I went like 20.6 in high school, and then I like plateaued. I think the reason why I went that fast was I was swimming beside Adam Brown, and he went like 19.7, which I thought was like, oh my gosh. And
Right.
I was riding his waves. I definitely went too fast, too early. But I remember at SECs, I was super nervous. Like season hadn't gone, I hadn't like gone crazy fast that in invite and the dual meets and stuff. But I think I broke 20, and I went like 19.8 or whatever. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is great. And I remember standing behind the blocks. I wasn't in like the circle seated heats. And then Caleb comes up and goes like 18.3 or whatever he did. And I just remember like I was standing there. I was like, well, okay, I guess I got to go faster. I guess 19.8 is not enough.
I, dude, yeah, that was 2016
Yeah,
SECs.
yeah,
Yeah, I remember that was at Mizzou, and that's when Caleb's sophomore year, I believe, and that's when he really started to ascend to what he's become today. He goes, 18.3, like you said, and everyone's just kind of like, what?
it was casual. I was like, are you kidding? Like, I was like, I just had the best swim of my life, and then I just got beat by like over a second.
Yeah. So that, and that sounds like an eye-opening experience. Like we said earlier, you kind of just kept moving up and kept moving up in Alabama. As you went out through your sophomore, junior, senior seasons, what kept you motivated to keep going and keep going, and just, again, have those improvements year after year, every single year you were there?
Yeah, I guess the thing for me was just, I mean, Coach Saban's philosophy of just the process and just every day, just not worrying about, every year I'd always be disappointed at the end of the season because I'd be like, I want to be like, I know where I want to end up, and I'm not there yet. But like looking back on it, I'm like, I improved every year. It's not like I never plateaued at all. So I was still improving. That's just how the improvement was going to be that year. But yeah, just focusing on the process, not really thinking about all the other things that I can't control. But definitely, I mean, I would watch Coach Saban's press conferences every Monday and Wednesday, and like whatever he was saying, I was like, all right, that's okay. That's what you're telling me. All right, let's get, whatever lessons. I would always find like nuggets, and he has so many great things, but like I would always find just like things, and I'd be like that. Like the next day of practice, I would be thinking about that.
And I think that's so great that you had your head coach, but you were still listening to Coach Saban, still a huge football fan. And so let's get into your senior year. Well, sorry, one more thing. Your junior year is when you really came onto a lot of people's radars. Georgia Tech invite. This is December 2017. And you pop a 41.9 at that invite. What was really starting to click for you at that meet?
That was the year when my stroke really came into that, like hydro freestyle, whatever that, all that. So that was that summer at US Nationals, the trials meet for Budapest didn't go very well. Like I was like, all right, whatever, like give up. And then I remember I came in, John T was like, you're going to US Open, you're going to swim. And I was like, all right, whatever. And then, so I just was like, came into that month, I was just like, all right, like I'm just going to have some fun, like hang out with my friends and stuff. And and then it started clicking. It just like, somehow it started clicking. And I remember watching that Budapest, that World Champs. And I remember seeing Caleb, and I remember seeing his stroke looked a little different. And it's funny because I talked to Steve, Jungblow, I can't pronounce his last name, at Florida at Wugs last year, and he was saying that like Caleb did the kind of the same thing where he's changed his stroke he did something, and I noticed it because I saw it he went like a second faster from trials to Worlds. So I was like, okay, and then I just started seeing that and visualizing that in practice, and then it just carried on through the year. But yeah, at that invite, I remember when I went I was, that invites are tough anyway. Like just body's just exhausted. And I just remember I did that and I was like, okay, like, all right, like this is good. Things are working now.
Yeah. And again, I think that's when everyone's kind of like, wait, who's Robert Howard? He's from 41.9 100-yard freestyle. That's pretty good. You were leading the NCAA at the time. Only guy to go under 42 up until either conference meets or NCAAs. But let's get into your senior year. You SEC champion in the 50 free, 100 free, and a part of the 200 medley relay, 200 free relay. You guys won quite a few. you had a great SEC meet. What about that postseason, your senior season, was really enjoyable for you?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember back like how it all just kind of came together. I remember you never know. Like I remember that 200 medley that Tuesday night at SEC's. That relay is just the craziest relay anyway, because everybody's there. No one's warming down. Everybody's just focused on that race. I remember I was so nervous because you never know, like you hit the taper or not. And I remember I went like fast, but I didn't go like crazy fast. But it was just like the one swim I needed. We won the race, and I was like, okay, like. And then I got into it, and it's just like one swim after the other. And that was like the hardest meet for me, just like mentally, because like I was kind of the favorite, and because like Zach Apple went to Indiana, so like there was no Kyle DeCourcy was there, but I was pretty much like, in my mind, I was like, I should win all these events. Like I need to. And so that was just kind of hard, just to having that not pressure, but just kind of pressure of just like, I just had to stay focused the entire time because I needed to win. I should win every single thing I need to do. And that was definitely a different challenge than just like, let's see how fast we can go, get second or third, whatever, like see how fast we go. But that one was like coming in with the expectations of doing it and then ending up like doing it.
Yeah. How do you feel like you handled that challenge? I mean, SECs, for anyone who hasn't been, most people in the SEC say that SECs is their favorite meet above the NCAAs. It's men and women combined. It's 5 days. It's a crazy meet, and the energy is unlike any other meet I've ever been to. So that's the SECs is a long meet. How did you, and you were racing obviously every day, with relays and individuals. How did you manage that pressure over the course of those 5 days?
Yeah, I mean, the meet itself, like just the grind, it's not as bad as, because there's no morning swim, so it's not as bad as NCs, but just the emotions of like cheering your teammates and like, I mean, I was one of the captains, so we would always like, if we weren't going to be the best team, we were going to be the loudest team, and we were going to have the most fun on deck, and we were going to be we didn't really care about what anybody else thought of us. I don't think we like made people mad or anything, but we just were like, we're going to have some fun. And so just keeping that excitement going, that definitely is draining. I had to manage it. I mean, I knew how to do it. It wasn't my first one. So, but yeah, it's just emotional, physical. It's a fun, tough meet. It's a good challenge.
Yeah. And so you get through that meet, you do win all of those events. And then you go to NCAAs. Tell me about that meet. Again, you guys you kept your streak alive. You won the 200 medley relay, your first NCAA championship. What were your nerves like heading into that race particularly?
That race was kind of crazy because we were confident. Like we were super confident because, I mean, if you get clean water, you're good. And we had the fastest backstroker. And then we had a very competent breaststroker. And I just remember for them, I mean, when you're in the moment, you always find the pressure. Like there's always something. But for them, I was like, man, if I could just be the backstroker, there's no pressure here. But finishing is different. And also like our flyer, he was good. He made improvements and he swam a perfect race for him. But I knew he was going to be the weaker link in terms of just compared to the field, and I knew they were going to be catching. So like I just remember standing on the blocks and I see like the field, and I get my last like view of where we are. I didn't really know where we were, so I just go. It's a 50, so it's not like you're changing your strategy. But remember, I flipped and I look over and I see Hoffer, and I'd swam beside him the 2 times in the 50 free, and he beat me both times. And his underwaters are super good, but I know I got him on top of the water. So I like saw where he was in relation to where we were individually, and I was like a little bit behind him, but not as far as the individual. So I knew, I was like, okay, I'm gonna catch him on top of the water. Like I got that. And like Ress was beside me, and then Tate Jackson, but I couldn't see any of that. I was just going, and then we really separated at the end, and that's kind of how we'd always been practicing, is just to like just finish strong. And you can see it in all of our legs of the relay, where we just really finished to the wall strong.
Yeah. And I mean, after 4 years at Alabama, working, what did it feel like to win that team title for you personally and as a team?
Yeah, that's definitely like the best moment of my life, just because like looking back, like as the little 9-year-old that's sitting in Bryant-Denny Stadium and like loving Alabama so much. And I remember just like that moment, I was like, I pictured it in my head for forever, and it finally like actually happened. And I was like, are you like, this is crazy. Like this is, so at the time, the best moment of my life was in the national championship game against Georgia when Tua threw the the touchdown, I was in the stadium, and like I just remember the ball in the air and then it goes, and I was just like freaking out. But that definitely topped it. But that was the same type of feeling of just like, we just won, like, oh my gosh, like despite everything else, we won, like, and it was an awesome moment. I'll always remember.
Yeah, definitely. So again, you finish your college career on a high. One more thing I want to talk about before we wrap this up is that following summer, you go to the World University Games. You had qualified at the Summer Nationals the year before, and you're part of another championship relay. You go to the World University Games. You swim on the 400 free relay that wins gold. I don't think you guys would have medaled, but I think you certainly that relay would have finaled at World Championships.
Yeah.
I mean, that was you guys blew your competition out of the water. You swam on the prelims and the finals relay. What was going to the World University Games like?
That was fun. That was a lot. That was a cool experience. It was fun to meet everybody. I mean, I still like talk to those guys. I mean, I was teammates with Zach, and then I mean, I made relationships with a lot of different people, and it was just, that's kind of what I like about swimming. And same with ISL, like just meeting people and just getting to know people. And that was, I mean, I swam the first day and then I was done. So I was kind of just hanging out, just cheering on the team. And it was a really fun experience compared to like, I didn't swim like a ton of events like SECs or whatever, but it was fun. Just, hanging out in Italy for the rest of the week.
Honestly, that sounds like my dream swim meet. Just swim the first day and then just cheer.
It was fun. It was fun.
Tell me about being on that relay prelims and finals. Walk me through that experience.
Yeah. I mean, it was kind of, it sucked because we swam the first day. I don't know what day it was of the week, but towards the end of the meet, like all the crowds were huge. Like the Italians came in and it was a raucous atmosphere. We didn't really have that. And then even the whole team, I mean, everybody was swimming, like no one was done at that point. So everybody left. And so it's kind of a weak atmosphere. But it was just fun. I remember it was the 4th of July, and like, I remember Tate and I like listening to like Courtesy of the Red, White, and Blue back like before we started warming up. And I remember we were like, I mean, we're about to just like, because that was the first big meet that summer, and we were like, let's throw down some stuff. Let's show what America's got.
Yeah, that was again, you guys really threw down. I'm looking it up right now. You guys went 4:11:03, and I stand corrected. That relay would have gotten a bronze medal at the World Championships behind Russia and then the United States.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you guys really lit it up. That was an awesome relay to watch. I remember, like you said, first big meet of the season. I remember watching it and we were just, jaws on the floor because Zach Apple, 47, Dean Ferris, 47, Robert Howard, 47. And we were just we were all amazed.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's just crazy too, just compared to like 2016 and to 2021 or whatever. Like, I mean, what was it like? It took like a 48.7 to make it or 48 like mid or whatever. And like, that's not even going to make semis probably. Why did everybody start swimming the 100 free? Like, what's going on? This is kind of messed up.
It's pretty funny. Yeah. 2015, our 400 free relay doesn't make the final World Championships. And, 4 years later, we're, I think we won by a second. You got, the B team or the university team crushes the field by 4. You guys won by over 4 seconds in that relay. Yeah. Again, a lot of 100 freestylers, a lot of talent there. It's pretty exciting as a fan, as an athlete. You guys certainly have your work cut out for you come trials.
Yeah.
So speaking of trials, just to wrap our conversation up here, moving forward, what are you thinking about for the next couple months? Obviously, you've got ISL with the TC Trident. Before you leave for Budapest in a few weeks, what are you looking to achieve? Do you have any short-term goals just for yourself in practice? What's it going to look like?
Yeah, because the past couple months have been just kind of weird, and it feels like we're still not, we're still just kind of doing lap swim. When we're together now finally, but it's just, I guess, for the next 3.5 weeks before we go, just continue to focus on the details and just focus on the process, like I said before. Just kind of just get ready, and I don't know how it's going to be. I mean, we're going to be training. We have to train, but it'll be a different environment. Like, we didn't do too many dual meets. I know some schools do, like the January where they do dual meets every weekend, but this will be interesting to see how we approach the week. I don't know how it'll be 4 days hard and then a day of kind of rest, and then 4 days hard and then the meets. So it'll be a fun experience. But yeah, just nothing really changes. Not really looking for anything in particular. Just focus on the details and just get everything prepped and ready to go for Budapest.
Yeah. Well, Robert, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. It's always good catching up, and yeah, I hope things go well in Budapest. I'm really excited to watch the action.
Yeah.
You've been listening to the SwimSwam podcast. Stay tuned for new episodes every week. You can take SwimSwam podcast on the go by subscribing on your favorite podcast platform. Look for links in the description below, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos as well.